Hi, welcome back to the Grafana Alloy for Beginners series. I'm Jung, a staff developer advocate here at Grafana. In the last episode, we talked about what Alloy is and when it makes sense to use it. In this series, we'll learn how to configure Alloy to build data pipelines. And just like learning any new language, we'll start by getting familiar with the key jargon and syntax used in Alloy configurations, and that's exactly what we'll be covering today. So think of Alloy as our trusty pal who can collect, process, and export our telemetry data. To tell Alloy how we want that done, we write instructions using a language, the syntax that Alloy understands. So imagine we're writing a set of instructions for Alloy to follow. Each individual task in those instructions is called a component. The components are grouped by ecosystem to keep things organized. You can find a link to this page in the resources section of the repo. Now, under each ecosystem, we'll find components that handle different functions. Generally, components perform one of these functions shown here. Depending on what we're working with, we'll use components that discover targets or expose data from a known target. Some components scrape or receive data, others process it, and some export it to where it needs to go. There are also miscellaneous components that do all sorts of things, like reading a file and exposing the contents to other components, or fetching more Alloy config from a remote source. Basically, our pipelines will be built by putting together components that handle these different tasks. To understand what a component does, just look at what comes after the ecosystem name. Let's take the Prometheus components as an example. When we want to get metrics ready and share them with other Alloy components, we use the exporter. To scrape data, we turn to the scrape component. If we need to relabel data, the relabel component is the one for the job. And when it's time to export the data, we use components like milk write or write to, and so on. The components tell Alloy exactly how to collect, process, and export telemetry data. Like Lego blocks, we can mix and match these components in any way to build a pipeline in Alloy that fits our needs. Each task or component could be further broken down into a detailed set of instructions. So let's take a closer look at the Prometheus.relabel component. This one is designed to process metrics. Like all components, it receives data from somewhere, do something to that data, and then sends it off to the next destination. Here, we specify exactly how we want to process that data, and with the for to, we define where the data should be sent next. Let's break down the same component even further. First, there's the component name. Then we add a label to help distinguish it from others. Next, we use either an argument, which is a key-value pair, or a block to instruct Alloy exactly what we wanted to do with the data. We can customize a block even more by setting attributes to expressions. And if needed, we can create nested blocks within blocks to get really specific. So we'll use the components pages in the docs to figure out how to configure our pipeline. To get there, we go to the Alloy docs, click on Reference, then Components, and finally choose the ecosystem that we're working with. To set up our components properly, keep an eye on three key sections in the docs: usage, arguments, and blocks. The usage section shows us how the component is structured and gives us a solid starting point for our own setup. The argument section shows how we can further customize what we want to do with the data. As we write our configurations, pay close attention to the type, description, defaults, and required categories so Alloy understands what we're asking it to do. The same goes for blocks. They're another way we can configure Alloy to do what we need. So focusing on these three things will point us in the right direction as we configure our pipeline. In this episode, we cover the basics of the Alloy configuration language. Next up, we'll set up our learning environment so we can see firsthand how Alloy configuration works in action. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.